You might think that teaching is a death sentence for your music career, that the moment you start, people will see you as just a teacher instead of a real musician. I used to believe that too, until I realized that it was completely backwards. Not only did coaching help me become a better musician, but it actually led to me landing one of the biggest gigs of my career. A lot of musicians struggle with teaching, not because it's inherently bad, but because of the way that they're doing it and because of some huge misconceptions about what coaching actually does for your career. I get why teaching can feel like a step back. Maybe you've seen other musicians get stuck in low-paying lessons that drain their time and energy, or maybe you've tried teaching and felt like it was taking time away from your own music instead of supporting it. If that's your experience, of course, it's going to feel like a detour. But that's not a problem with teaching itself. It's a problem with how most musicians approach it. If teaching leaves you exhausted and takes over your schedule, that's not because it has to, it's because of the way it's structured. And when you set it up right, teaching, or better yet, coaching, becomes a tool that helps you move forward. A lot of musicians worry that if they start teaching, they'll no longer be taken seriously as a performer. And I get it. I had the same fear. But the reality is that coaching actually helped me get to where I am now. I'm almost certain that my online presence as a coach contributed to me landing the gig I'm on now, which is playing drums full-time on a West End theatre show in London. And here's why. I wasn't just posting coaching content on social media. I was also documenting my playing, my rehearsals, and my gigs. People didn't see me as a coach, they saw me as an active working musician who also coached. And that's the key. Coaching doesn't make people take you less seriously. It puts you on the radar. It creates visibility, builds connections, and makes people just more aware of what you're doing musically. I've had musicians reach out to me for gigs, not because I was actively looking, but because they saw me coaching. They saw me breaking things down and playing online. And that's the thing. Coaching naturally increases your visibility in ways that go beyond just getting students. Social media and content creation aren't just for attracting students. They position you in the industry. When you post clips explaining a technique, breaking down a song, or helping musicians solve a problem, you're not just talking to students. You're building a portfolio that other musicians, potential collaborators, and even industry professionals see. That's what I call the resume effect. If you're posting valuable content online, it doubles as a portfolio, not just for students, but for gigs, projects, and collaborations. So if you've been avoiding coaching because you think it'll make you just a teacher, you're missing out on one of the easiest ways to build credibility and connections in the industry. Would you rather grind through 4-hour bar gigs that barely cover rent, or coach a handful of students in half the time and actually have space to work on your own projects? That's the real trap that musicians fall into, saying yes to every gig just to survive. And when you're stuck in that cycle, you're reacting to opportunities rather than choosing the right ones. When you have steady income from coaching, you don't have to take every low-paying gig just to keep the lights on. You can be more strategic, choosing only the gigs that actually move your career forward. Maybe that means saying no to a cover band residency that doesn't excite you so you can focus on an original project. Maybe that means turning down a gig that pays in exposure because you actually have financial stability. The musicians who thrive aren't the ones saying yes to everything. They're the ones who can afford to say no. And that's even easier when you're coaching instead of stacking low-paid hourly lessons. I also used to think that teaching would take away from my own playing, that I'd be stuck kind of repeating the same exercises instead of improving. But for me, coaching actually made me a better drummer. When you coach, you have to break things down, and that forces you to understand them on a deeper level than if you were just practicing on your own. I refined my own playing because I had to explain things clearly to others. I started applying concepts more efficiently and improving way faster, and I was also getting paid. And here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Coaching doesn't just improve your playing, it improves your ability to perform. When you're constantly explaining phrasing and dynamics or groove concepts to a student, you start internalizing those concepts in your own playing. The way you practice shifts. You develop more control, more awareness, more refinement, and all of that directly translates to how you play on stage, in sessions, or in rehearsals. Coaching doesn't drain your creativity, it sharpens your skills in the practice room, and those skills bleed into your live performances. You might be avoiding coaching because you think it means being locked into a rigid schedule, but you don't have to coach in a way that clashes with your career. It can actually fit into it. If you want something remote and flexible, coaching is a much better option than traditional lessons. Coaching allows you to guide students without being tied to back-to-back Zoom calls every week, whether that's through video feedback or structured programs or mentorship-based learning. Some of the most successful educators I know, they don't do hourly lessons at all. They've built coaching models that allow them to work with students on their own terms with way more flexibility. You don't have to be stuck in weekly private lessons if that's not what works for you. You can structure your coaching in a way that actually supports your music career. Listen, I built a 6-figure online coaching business, and I get it. Not everybody wants to build a full-blown business like I did. And honestly, you don't have to. Even just 2 or 3 high-paying students can relieve financial pressure and just give you more freedom and let you focus on the music that actually moves you forward. Coaching doesn't have to be a job replacement. It can be a tool. It can give you stability so you can go all in on what matters most to you. Coaching, when structured the right way, doesn't take away from your music career, it supports it. It gives you more control, more opportunities, and more freedom to focus on the music that actually matters to you. So I want to hear from you. Have you avoided coaching because you think it'll take away from your music career? Or if you are coaching, do you feel like it's getting in the way? Drop a comment, let's talk about it.